Good morning, everybody. My name is Stacy Renee. I'm a mindset coach. What I like to say, what is a life on life's terms coach? So if you've subscribed to me, I just want to thank you so much for lifting this vibe. Thank you for supporting this channel in any way that you choose. And today, in talking about Wednesday, I always say Wednesday, W-I-N-S-D-A-Y, because a lot of us don't count our wins. We're taught to navigate, to anticipate, and to strategize problems, but sometimes we just need to realize what we've overcome to build our esteem. So I'm going to talk to you, I only have a few minutes here to talk to you about, the lack mentality. Are you suffering or struggling with it? Maybe you don't even know what it is. So here we grow. I want to talk to you about that because it's not usually in the way that we hear it. We usually associate that with the lack of money. But what I want to talk to you about is that it can't just be fixed by thinking positive. We tried that, right? And this is why we say, well, I'm trying, but are we really? I've talked about, are we wallowing, worried, wallowing, or working on it? So lack is a belief system. And most of us didn't consciously choose it. It came from experience, from not having, and more importantly, of how that felt, the not having. And so because when something is missing in your life, love, safety, stability, your brain doesn't just notice it. So we're navigating. That's what has us anticipating and strategizing, is we're trying not to feel something. But we have to feel it to heal it. So we learn from it. We start learning to expect things. It starts to expect that this doesn't last, or this can go away, or I have to hold on to this, or I shouldn't expect too much. It's all these things, these messages. And if you're feeding yourself messages, you're not winning today. If that's the messages that you're working from, because that's where settling comes in. So you don't go after what you really want because you've already decided it's probably not available to you. So you're trying to protect yourself. Your ego will try to protect yourself. The ego is good for giving you a drive, but if it's stopping you, then that's not fully being alive. So we choose what feels safe sometimes when we come from lack mentality. What's there and what won't disappoint us as much. And we call it being realistic, but it's actually lack. So even when life gets better, this just doesn't disappear. It don't just disappear because we wait for the other shoe to fall, right? So you might have thought more than you ever had, that it's still not enough and that it can go away. What's ever enough? Because when we're coming from lack, nothing will ever be enough, because we're not going to have a Wednesday or a day where we feel like we're accomplished. So we hold on and we overgive and we overspend, or we settle in places that really don't meet us where we're at, right? So that's still not enough. That's still coming from not enough, which is lack. So because somewhere inside we just don't trust it. We just don't trust it. But here's the shift: is you cannot trust yourself if you're not telling yourself the truth. Trust and truth are on the same lineage. They're in the same measure. Trust and truth. We're not going to know our truth if we don't learn to trust, and we're not going to trust if we don't know our truth. So this is why people get stuck. We justify, we minimize, we say, this is just how I am. I'm just being realistic. Instead of saying, I'm afraid, and I don't believe I'll get more than this, and I don't trust that something better is available to me. That's the truth, right? We're afraid to say that. So here's the thing. And until you can say that, you're going to keep repeating the pattern, because awareness isn't just noticing, it's being honest. Honest about why you stay, honest about why you settle, and why you don't trust what's good even when it shows up. So it came from what you lived through, what your parents believed, what they feared, and what they never healed. Remember, I said we can't blame them and empower ourselves, though, because they didn't have the resources we have. They didn't have YouTube. But at some point, it becomes our responsibility, not to blame, but to change. And that starts with the truth, because when you tell yourself the truth, you can start to trust yourself. When you start to trust yourself, you start to trust everyone else, or the people that you need to trust, because not everybody has your back, but not everybody doesn't have your back. So when we trust ourselves, we know. When you trust yourself, you stop settling. You stop choosing from fear. You stop bracing for loss, and you start actually experiencing your life. You're not trying to anticipate or navigate or strategize. And that's what real wealth is. If you're settling in your life, it's not because that it's not available, that your best is not available. It's because somewhere inside you don't believe you get to have more. You see? And that's lack. And it doesn't just come from not having, it comes from not having felt like, from what that felt like when you didn't have enough. You know, when other kids dress different than you do, or when the other people had more than you did. This is why they say keeping up with the Joneses, you know. So now you expect things not to last, like you've got to be on this hamster wheel all the time. You don't get to just enjoy the moment. You expect disappointment. And you tell yourself that you're being realistic, you know, because you're afraid of being disappointed. You're giving more energy to that. And here's the truth. You'll keep settling as long as you're not being honest with yourself about what lack mentality is and what is the truth. What do you really want? Because you can't trust yourself if you're not telling yourself the truth. So let's just breathe that in for a moment. Take a deep breath in. Breathe in my truth and that I am good enough, and hold it. And then release. Anything that tells you that you have to settle, anything that tells you you're not enough, because if you think you're not enough, you'll settle for lack. And you are more than enough. Just because you may fear being too much doesn't mean you're not enough. So have a wonderful Wednesday and count your wins, because you've won if you're here today. So, okay. See you tonight for that live. I'm not going to do the live this morning. I have to do it tonight. I have a boat to catch. So I get to see some of the people that I work with. So I want you to know how much I value you and thank you. And I will be on here tonight. We're going to talk more about this lack if you're interested. Thank you so much. Bye.